Look at this digital ledger. Right now, a package containing the equivalent of $3,333 in official Anthropic API credits is actively selling on a Chinese forum for 425 RMB. The official price is crossed out and replaced by a cost of roughly $60. Calculate that exchange rate and it equates to roughly 2 cents on the dollar. You're buying 13 cents of official usage for every single dollar spent, resulting in a 97.8% discount off Anthropic's official list price. This pricing is a permanent fixture of a professionalized industry, far removed from temporary software glitches or one-off promotional errors. Running frontier AI models requires massive amounts of compute, and compute costs money. Software cannot inherently run at a 98% loss. For this price to exist, someone else is unwittingly paying the difference. That heavy subsidy is extracted by an industrialized, highly organized secondary market operating 4 layers deep. The booming demand for AI tokens has inadvertently spawned a massive gray market supply chain. Its sole purpose is to convert fraudulent access into cheap inference at an enterprise scale. This topographic map illustrates a vertical pipeline built to launder stolen credentials through 4 layers. Zooming into the upstream layer, merchants sell virtual credit cards, bypassing Western checks, and bulk registered accounts, generating volatile credentials. These flow down into the midstream layer's centralized account pools. The pools serve a vital functional role. They manage specific rate limits for hundreds of different accounts, automatically handle failovers when an account burns out, and expose that chaotic access as one stable API. Pools also reverse engineer consumer apps. Any software exposing a model is a target. Panning further down the pipeline, we reach the downstream layer. Here, relays act as consumer-facing transfer stations, branching the single API into neatly packaged user interfaces. Relay operators wrap the raw API in a clean Chinese language user interface. They handle custom billing, issue invoices, and run dedicated customer support groups on WeChat. These downstream operators function exactly like legitimate SaaS businesses. Finally, the infrastructure terminates at the end users, individual developers, and local startups hunting for cheap inference. This vertical integration solves a complex logistical problem. It takes volatile, stolen digital assets at the top and transforms them into a stable enterprise service at the bottom. To understand how this structure operates at scale, we must look at the technological backbone. The entire market runs on legitimate open-source AI gateways. The 2 primary open-source projects utilized by relay operators are One API and its commercially optimized fork, New API. This architectural flowchart details the core routing logic. A gateway routes every incoming request into a shifting pool of volatile API keys labeled channels, pulling a single live key. On the outside, a clean, standard response returns to the user, masking the internal chaos. The software handles financial mechanics natively, silently managing token deductions, applying custom pricing multipliers, and tracking individual billing automatically. The software itself is entirely neutral. Corporate engineering teams legally self-host these exact gateways for internal developers and accurate spend tracking. The operation crosses into a black market only when an operator stocks channels with pooled stolen keys and resells that access in direct violation of the original provider's terms. Neutral open-source code has inadvertently provided the exact enterprise-grade stability needed to mask the extreme volatility of fraudulent credentials. The upstream supply fueling this code relies on aggressive intake methods. It starts with mass automation, scripts rapidly creating thousands upon thousands of fresh accounts to systematically harvest initial free trial credits. Attackers also execute direct financial fraud. They use prepaid cards capped at a specific limit or initiate chargebacks immediately after a usage period ends to recoup operational costs. In a denial-of-wallet attack, an overwhelming flood of concurrent requests aggressively attacks a central server purely to burn through a provider's API budget. These chaotic attacks support a massive consumer base. The top 10 tracked relays alone generate a combined 3.6 million visits per month. That high demand is largely driven by one commercial use case, a multi-billion RMB model distillation industry. Companies purchase massive volumes of cheap tokens from high-tier models like Claude or Codex. They use the outputs from those models to train and refine their own domestic proprietary AI systems. The market is so normalized that relay directories now run aggressive marketing promotions, including daily API key lotteries. One prominent directory gives away $50 $100 keys every single day. They use provably fair cryptographic shuffles, the exact mathematical proofs used by crypto casinos, to assure participants they aren't rigging the giveaway. For frontier labs trying to stop this, the immediate defensive strategy requires raising the cost of entry. This means enforcing strict browser automation checks and severely capping what a fresh account can spend. Labs must track behavioral anomalies, like the time elapsed from registration to the first token generated. They also cluster IP sybils to accurately map out dozens of seemingly separate accounts, all connected back to a single operator. When abuse is caught, providers must utilize silent throttling. Returning a clean error simply tells the attacker exactly which behavioral signal they need to fix next. The resulting defensive strategy is heavily asymmetrical. Defending an API is an expensive, complex cat-and-mouse game against remarkably cheap automated attacks. As compromise creeps outward from the foundation of the neural network, the financial trail leads back to the very companies developing the models. Major AI labs are unknowingly subsidizing an external, highly organized gray market industry with their own stolen compute power. As Anthropic and other providers inevitably roll out stricter identity verification and KYC controls, the abuse will not simply disappear. Increased friction at the lab level will merely force attackers to migrate to less defended targets at the application layer, leaving their massive open-source infrastructure completely intact and ready for new inputs. If massive fraud remains structurally endemic to the token economy, the industry faces a question of how the next generation of AI access must be priced and policed. Economic incentives have made exploitation highly profitable and infinitely scalable, creating a structural vulnerability that technology alone cannot eradicate. Visit vectoral.com to learn more.